Hello, everybody. Just wanted to take a moment and talk to you about proper use of foot controls with the character. I've seen quite a bit of improper usage. I want to make sure that everybody is working in the proper way. If your foot is looking like this, say the foot is coming off the back like that, and you feel that that is the proper pose for a foot leaving the ground, then you are incorrect. If you are seeing this and are trying to do something along like this in order to make contact with the ground, then that is improper as well. As well as something like that is improper. There's certain circumstances, maybe in a run or something like that, where you may have to utilize the rotation of the control, say in X, in order to receive, or put it in the proper position, such as something like this, where the foot is actually coming back in a large arc towards the butt or something like that in a run. But for the walk, there's much simpler way, a much more efficient way to actually utilize the controls. There's extra channels that are provided for you on the side over here. One is the heel. Okay, so there's an actual pivot for the heel here. So when you do that, it actually rotates on that pivot, which is where the point of force is, correct? So that's important to utilize. Also, the heel lift, that would be your ball onto the ball of the foot, right? Very nice. And then onto the tip of the toe in order for the foot to start to leave the ground. Okay, so there's certain combinations of the controls that you'll utilize, such as a striking of the heel. You'd use the heel and the toe lift, this one here, in order to prepare for the foot roll forward. So these two channels, say for a contact would be, keyframed here, and then typically 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe. The heel is making contact with the ground. The toe stays up. You can bend the toe back even a little bit more, depending on, what it is. If it's in motion and the foot's coming down, that toe might drag along just a little bit, right? So it's not a bad thing to necessarily do. So you'd have a keyframe there, and then 1 frame or 2 frames later, maybe, then the toe is actually making contact with the ground. So there's 3 to get that foot to make contact, right? You make contact with the heel, and the ball of the foot comes down, and then the toe comes down after that. So then you'd have into the passing position. Then you're going to be up onto the ball of the foot, right? So the ball the heel's lifting up, but you want to control it from the point of rotation, which is where the ball of the foot is. Okay, and then you would be into, after the contact, into the down position. Then you could be rolling into the tip of the toe. So you'd have something on the lines of this as it's leaving the ground. Okay, now for passing, or the leg is moving forward, you're up in the air, you're already in the position that you want to be utilizing. So you could definitely use this into that passing, and then into the next contact. Guess what happens? Tip toe, this comes flat, the heel lift goes down, and the heel comes back, right? The toe is bending back, getting ready for the next contact, okay, as it's coming forward. And then you'd have, obviously, a forward motion and contact. Now, if the leg is stretching away, like the handle is stretching away from the leg, and you see the leg start to do something like this, then that means that your poses are off. It means that your body position is off. You need to move, make sure that the body position is moving forward. As you can see this, that would be improper for the ball up on the foot, which is what a lot of people tend to do. That would be better. Contact with the body coming down, this foot making contact with the ground and out in front. Now, how do you judge that? Well, one thing you want to make sure you do is look maybe from the side view, or just make sure that this foot control is actually making contact with the ground. The body would be leaning forward slightly, and you'd want to position this body in the right position in order to make sure that the leg can extend far enough to make contact without it popping straight, right? So say this is a zero position for Y. We know that's at the ground. heel's up, ready to go, which we know that that pivot is right there, so that nothing's going to be penetrating through the ground. This would be your next, your contact for that, and your movement for the body. So let's just get that back into its zero position, something like that, and we won't worry about that too much. We're just really like just looking at the legs, but that's how you roll onto the tip of toe, off into the air, getting ready, and then making contact. Now, I didn't translate that forward, into this position here. This would continue to travel forward out and through there, so you'd have that getting ready for that contact. Now, how would, and I did this in an extreme way too, like this could start to come back down in the passing, maybe not as much bend, right? Starts to relax a little bit, so that you have something feeling, more natural as it moves forward, getting ready for that contact in there. Okay, so that's the general basics of those channels that you'd utilize for that foot roll and the contact out front. Now, that's in one axis, right? Obviously, we're dealing in 3D, so if we moved towards something, where we're looking at, say, this angle, and the foot is starting to come forward like this. When we get into that passing position, which is in this area, typically what we're going to need to have is the weight shifting. Okay, so the body's weight is going to be over here. This foot might be lower to the ground. It's definitely going to be closer to the midline of the body. In this, so I'm correcting for this by actually moving this foot over, and then this foot, as it starts to come out, would be, more over here. Let's get this body out. Keep it over on this side as that foot starts to come forward and making contact. If he's going to walk this wide, right, with his feet this far apart, there's going to be a lot of shift. If he walks more narrow, the feet are closer together, then he's going to have less shift. But really looking at like how that foot is actually starting to leave the ground. Don't worry about the upper body, just watch the feet. So you get something like this where this foot's coming off. You don't want it to go straight and then to the side and then, and then go out. You want to control how that's leaving the ground, right? So as we go up on the ball of the foot, that's fine. As we go onto the tip of the toe, we may side bank this so that the foot starts to roll in. Why? Because that's the direction it's heading, is towards the midline. This knee pole vector, people sometimes have problems with because it's close to the knee, right? It's trying to point to that, so you want to have that pole vector for that knee, the body kind of heading this direction, right? So that angle of that leg is moving towards the midline, okay, at this point, in the movement. So that would be like that. This foot would be, conducted here, and then let's get in the side view again. So as that foot leaves the ground, it's going to start to angle this way, right? Starts to come down like that. Heads that way, comes up, and then as it comes out and makes contact, it might, generally make contact with the inside of the heel first, right? Especially if the foot is going out. You make contact this way, and then again, 4 frames down. This channel's going to go flat. Ball of the foot's going to be, the heel's going to be making its strike, and the toe, will still be up, right? So you're going to get a contact with the inner edge of the heel, and then it's going to roll flat. So just ways of controlling that foot coming in and out, okay? Again, that's a little rough. There's some stuff going up the top. All right, so that's where these side banks start to come into play, utilizing. And there's even a heel bank, like this and that. That's if, say, you're way up on the heel and you want to bank, you can bank it in and out on the heel. So ways of controlling that. Either one is fine. I tend to use the heel bank, at least on the initial contact, and then roll it flat. So that's just me, though. And then rolling forward there. Okay, again, don't worry about the upper body because I wasn't really focused on that. I'm just trying to show you what's going on with the leg. What to use in the knee. You don't want to point the leg out. Say the knee's up like that and you want the knee out. That's bad. Don't do that. Why? Because that's broken ankle, right? That doesn't happen that way. This is the time when you're going to rotate. If you're going to turn your leg out, you're going to turn your knee out, your whole leg rotates. So utilizing Y with the leg control is perfectly okay. that's fine to do. Utilizing X, that's for runs, and then Z is for very specific situations where you might have an angled surface that you want to make contact with, so you might start out like that, but then that will give you the angle that this rest of the system will work on in order to, make it have controllability that's very useful and very specific to your needs. Okay, so that is it for the legs. That would be what I would focus on, and how to handle that with the toe and the roll and the foot and the side bank and all that type of thing. So I'll be looking for these things in your animations. If you're utilizing these controls improperly, such as doing something like this or trying to utilize for a contact like this, it's going to be an automatic process failure. Okay, and if you have a lot of that with other things, that it could very well mean that you failed to pass because you did not utilize the controls properly. So make sure that you're doing this correctly, and it will save you a lot of headache and a lot of extra work later when you have to try to fix those things and re-keyframe a lot of stuff as you're moving forward. Okay, hope this helps, and I look forward to seeing what you have in your animations. Talk soon. Take care.